And now we present to you America's quintessential iconoclastic anomaly. Wow. In talk radio, your host, Joe Cristiano.
Folks, it's time for us to take back control of our government now before this bureaucratic, oversized, self-serving federal government starves us of our property, our freedom, our rights, and our liberty. To do this, we must shed conventional thinking regarding our political structure. We need to be revolutionaries in thought, dissidents in action. Only after we recognize what our government is doing to our freedom and our Constitution will we start taking it back and welcome everyone to the hallowed halls of the University of Logic, better known as Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversation. This is Liberty Talk Radio. I'm your host, Joe Cristiano, on 1170 KFAQ, and welcome. This is your antidote to popular talk radio. Well, if there was anything but convoluted conversation, it was this week. This week was convoluted.
Everything's convoluted.
You know what? Let me tell you about an ad that I think fits our society so well today.
On TV, radio?
On television.
On television, okay.
Now, there's this woman, this senior citizen woman, older woman, and she's standing by a wall with cards. And she said, well, this is my wall. You know, they do on the wall on your computer.
Yeah.
And she said, so instead of sending out the cards, I invite my friends over. And she has two of her girlfriends sitting there in the living room. And this one woman, and she's perfect. She says, and I saved 15% of my insurance in 15 minutes. So the woman sitting down says, but I saved twice as much in half the time. But this is not the way it's supposed to work. And the woman turns around, she says, I unfriend you. But it's so beautifully done. And the woman stands up, she says, but you don't understand. This is not how any of this is supposed to work. But the way she says that, if you take it out of the context of the commercial, you can say that about our form of government today. Not the Constitution, none of that stuff. I mean, these clowns that are just decimating it, and I include all of them in it.
The boobs in office. Yeah.
Everyone, you know. This is not the way it should work. This is not the way any of this should work.
No.
Those are exact words, and I love that commercial. I very rarely watch TV, but I'm fortunate enough every once in a while, once a week, to catch it. And I love watching it because she's
who was the commercial for? Was
correct.
it for Geico or what?
I think it was for e-insurance online.
E-insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm going to change the subject just for a second.
Okay, you can do that.
I'm always reading books. You know, I'm a slow reader.
You're a voracious reader, yeah.
Oh, but I'm a horrible reader. I every time I sit down to read, I think to myself all the harm that I had done to myself when I was young because I was, too damn smart for my own britches.
And didn't read much.
Didn't read, didn't do anything, got in trouble, had parties at the police station. Sometimes they kept me overnight because they loved me so much. All things like that,
How'd your dad like that?
Oh, he loved. He goes, hey, Giuseppe, you're on the boom, And every time I sit down to read, I think of that. I go, what's wrong with me? I mean, I read 24 hours a day, and I'm reading bed. I get up, I read everywhere, and sometimes I read in the car when I'm sitting at a light.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. No, I've taped it. Now, people ask me, where do you get your information, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
Let me give you a quick rundown. I didn't plan to do this, but I'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
But there are several organizations, and this is not an entire list, complete list. It is a synopsis. Go to the Freedom of Economic Education, FEE.org, Future Freedom Foundation, FFF.org, the Reason.org.
Reason.org?
Reason, yeah. And they have a magazine. In fact, Adam Moore, he's a VP. He's been on the program. The Cato Institute. And there's a host of others, but those are just some.
And those will have links to other things.
And once you get in that, you'll get into. And this is where you get information. Now, the books that I read, the last book I read by Jim Ricketts was the. Oh, geez, what's this first book? I can't remember the name of it now.
What's the name of the book?
The first book was anyway. Jim Ricketts is probably the quintessential monetary man of the world. when the government or governments put together war games, they trisected the war games among the hot war, missiles and sunken tanks and whatever. That's one. The second is cyber attacks, and the third is monetary. And he's always in charge of monetary. I mean, that's how big this guy is. He was the legal counsel for Long-Term Management Capital Corporation, that when it was the largest hedge fund in the world, that when it went under, I think in 1998, 1999, I forgot what year it was. I remember it distinctly, don't remember the year. When it went under, Alan Greenspan had to go to the heads of the Federal Reserve, people like J.P. Morgan, people who own the world money.
Sure.
With the federal government and the world money owners. And I include J.P. Morgan. I won't mention any others other than that, because J.P. Morgan's is one of us, all right? Said if you don't bail this hedge fund out, the entire financial system, global-wide, will collapse. And they knew it.
Wow.
Yeah. We were that close to entire Armageddon, monetary Armageddon. And
probably nobody knew it either.
No, very few people knew it. It's very, very quiet. And NPR actually had a 1 or 2 hour movie on long-term management showing the formulas that they used in the hedge funds.
Wow.
And they talked about, this is like 10 years later, they finally laid it all out, because of course it was 10 years ago and no one's going to panic at this point, But we are in much worse shape today. Jim Ricketts' new book, and it just came out this month, is The Death of Money: The Coming Collapse of the International Monetary System. And he's no wacko. This guy
knows
the
what he's
guy.
talking about.
No,
yeah.
There is nobody more knowledgeable. He has 2 Juris Doctorate degrees.
Wow.
He's got 4 master's degrees, I think. He is a PhD. You name it, he's got it. He is absolutely brilliant. I read 11 pages of this book, and it took me an hour.
Wow.
Now, I'm a slow reader, I admit, but the reason why it took me an hour, because every sentence had meaning. I felt as if I had taken a course, a full credit course in college after reading 11 pages of this book.
Wow.
I thought that's how much I had learned. And I know this stuff.
The book is titled The Death of Money.
The Death of Money by James Ricketts.
James Ricketts,
yeah.
okay.
And now I don't want to just talk about myself. I mean, my agent here, for example, he reads a lot, and the book he's reading now is Zombie Girls Go Wild,
I bet. Yeah. Zombie Girls Go Wild.
Yeah, Zombie Girls Go Wild.
That's some intellectually stimulating literature, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's I think he's on book
Girls
number
Go
7.
Wild.
Book number 7 right now. He's on number 7.
Oh, it's a series even.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And now people say, well, zombie. He's a zombie. Don't they? They slop. And see, my books are made out of paper, like regular paper, right? I got this at Barnes and Nobles. His book, he slobbers a lot too. Zombie Girls Going Wild. He slobbers on a lot. So, but his books that he buys are dishwasher safe. Yeah.
God.
So they're okay. I want you to know they're okay.
Man, does he know we're talking about him?
Oh, no. He's look at me in the face. He's a zombie.
He's a zombie. He's clueless. Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, now here is something that I think is great. Now, some of the people that I admire, Gerald Celente. You know, Gerald Celente
I love him.
actually I lived on the same street that Gerald Celente lived on in the Bronx. But I only lived there for 1 year.
But you didn't know him.
Yeah, but I didn't know him, right, yeah. And in his broadcast, I was watching one of his broadcasts the other day, and right now in the UK, and in another country, but the UK and maybe Italy, what they are including in the GDP, it's prostitution and illegal drug.
Really?
Yeah. Supposedly, yeah. This is how bad. This is how bad the world economic system is.
That is.
Yeah. And by the way, there's several other countries who are doing this also now. Now, just think.
Prostitution and illegal drugs.
You know very well, Jim, when you go outside and you see all those girls out there, most prostitutes are carrying ledger books with them, right?
Exactly.
And iPads, and they say, excuse me, what do you want done tonight?
And a Quicken program.
Yeah, let's say that'll be so much, the taxes so much, right? And then at the end of the day, they file a report with the IRS.
Wow. Quarterly taxes. That's nice.
Drug dealers do the same thing. First, what do drug dealers do? Well, they spend most of their time not only dealing in drugs, but filling out tax forms, right?
Well, do we have to 1099 them?
Oh yeah, that's right.
1099.
Every John
needs to have
gets a 1099. Right,
Yeah,
they fill a 1099. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And submit it to the girls. That
That's
way
right.
they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they do it on the iPhone.
Contract
so
labor,
they
of
get pictures
course.
too. Yeah.
It's contract labor.
But you think of the insanity of the entire system, and then when they officially make that to be a part of our tax system and our part of the GDP because it's so incredibly poor because people have to resort to women have to resort to prostitution.
That's pretty bad. Oh, mercy.
To survive, right? So they say, well, since they're resorting themselves to prostitution to survive, we're going to include this in the GDP so that the bankers can say GDP went up by so much percent.
They can't. They can't stitch gloves anymore because they sent that overseas. And,
Yeah,
we weren't
China,
competitive anymore, so it went somewhere
Indonesia.
else.
That's right. Well, let's go for it.
Because we have to, have a minimum wage.
Exactly.
We have to have a minimum wage. Yeah.
But there is
Don't
some
get
good
you
news on
started.
the horizon. Nigel Farage, one of my heroes.
Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage, right. And he is with the European Parliament. He's a member of the MEP, member of the European Parliament, and he represents the UK Independence Party, and guess what? They won the election. That's how.
Wow.
I mean, this is far-fetched, and they won. So, folks, here in the United States, those of you who are not voting, like me, because you're not going to vote for the lesser of two evils, there is hope. It just happened in the UK.
Sounds like it, yeah.
They dissed the major parties for the Independent Party. Now, I have often said that if there was a system of voting whereby you had the Republicans, the Democrats, and then third, none of the above would win 90% of the time. It'd be rare that none of the above would not win.
Joe,
then I would vote. I would vote.
They're all either conservative or liberal. I don't ever remember our forefathers talking about conservative and liberal. Have you ever read any literature about them talking?
Oh, it's all over the Constitution.
It's nowhere.
Of course not.
I know.
I mean,
What? They talked about liberty and freedom.
Of course not. Right.
Liberty and freedom.
That's all they talked about. Right.
And if there was anything that was liberal or conservative in that thought, it just happened.
Right.
But now they capitalize.
All right. Let's stay with that thought. We're going to be right back after these commercials, and we're going to be talking about another subject. Yeah, we'll have, in the next 15 minutes, we're going to have Congressman James Lankford calling in. We're going to be discussing his campaign and where he stands on things, okay? So I'm kind of excited about talking to him.
Stay tuned for that. That should
it's
be
going to be kind of
interesting.
exciting. Yeah, neat guy. Yeah, neat guy. He's a conservative. We're going to see really how conservative he really is.
Well, we got three. We've interviewed three. Now we'll have, 4 more to go.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Are you going to do that debate?
Yeah. What I want to do is we have to get together with all the head honchos. I want all 7 of them.
Yeah, do it right
I don't
here.
want this, this garbage like, well, we don't want to take the front runners. What does that smack of?
Yeah.
That's elitism. That's taking the people out of the process.
And that's
it's
what
only the
KOTV
politicians
did,
can be
yeah.
in there.
Or the
no,
parties.
I want the people there. Politicians can stay home.
Yeah,
All right.
there
So
you
enough of
go.
that. Hey,
And we told you.
a big item in the news. Someone just gave me an aspirin. Thank you very much.
An aspirin?
Yeah, I need it badly.
Okay.
I know I need more than aspirin. But this week, in the past week or so, there's been a lot of press, especially on the internet, regarding FATCA. FATCA.
FATCA?
FATCA.
FATCA. Okay.
And that stands for Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act.
Okay.
And surprisingly, this was buried in a 2009 bill submitted to the House of Representatives called HIRE, HIRE. Aren't they cute?
Yeah, that's a
HIRE,
cute
which stands
acronym,
for
isn't it?
Hiring Incentives
It's so
to
darling.
Restore Employment. Now, FATCA has nothing to do with employment, but it does have a lot to do with keeping track worldwide of every citizen in the United States, worldwide, that has any money in any financial institution.
Really?
Wow. That requires every country in the world. Now, you want to take major countries. I mean, when I say majors, I'll say the least significant would be the Vatican. Other than that, 191 if you take the Vatican out, right? All these countries have to comply with hundreds of pages of convoluted IRS gobbledygook to comply. Now, this applies to those people with investments of $50,000 or more in financial institutions in that country. Doesn't have to be a U.S. financial institution. Now, should the IRS detect that reporting was not done, 30% of monies going to that financial institution in that country from the United States is subject to 30% withholding. Just like now.
Wow.
What makes it even worse is that
Gestapo.
Just trying to could you imagine if the Chinese or the Russians or the Indians or the Brazilians handed in a 300 to 500 page manual on their tax code, much of which will violates a lot of the privacy acts of those individual countries, right? Hands theirs to us and says, all right, now, we want you to comply with this. And should you not, these are the ramifications, whatever they might be that they think they can get away with. Mm-hmm. Now, to take this a step further, what if every country did the same thing? Tit for tat, quid pro quo. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to do it, you say, if you're going to do it to us. What this is leading to is a freezing of the entire monetary system of the world.
Wow.
There are those, and I think Doug Casey's one of them, is another man I admire, but he feels that this is going to be July 1st, it goes into effect. July 1st. Feels that this is going to be the financial Armageddon of the world, right? Now, I've read so much about this stuff, and I'm not an accountant, so it's difficult for me to read. It's like reading Jim Brickett's books, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, I read slowly, all right? So I got varying opinions from different people. I said, well, I got to call my man. My man is Peter Schiff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like the guy. I really like the guy. So I called Peter Schiff, and I spoke to him yesterday, and his response was such that obviously we don't know what's going to happen. And he's never definitive, like this is going to happen on April 1st. He doesn't do that, and it's smart. I mean, because we never know.
He's not like a soothsayer.
Yeah, I mean, he tries to say what looks like is going to happen. Anyway, but what his take is on it is that all this stuff, what this thing really does do, it just puts it one more notch toward the world stepping away from the U.S. currency being the world's reserve currency. It's one more reason. It's like a bad marriage. You just don't argue once. You're married for 6 months, you argue once, you get a divorce. But, people are married for 20 years, and they never resolve that first issue, then the second issue. And by the time they're married for 20 years, there's 3,000 issues. They never discuss them. They say, I can't take this anymore, and they leave. Now, I want everyone to understand that the world is married to the U.S. dollar. And the world is looking now very closely at having a divorce, granting a divorce. And the World Bank, the World Bankers itself, will probably agree to that divorce because they can't take it anymore. They can't comply.
Well, especially with those type of stipulations.
Who came up with this crazy idea?
Our Congress.
Our
Congress.
But where do you think the motive came from?
What was...
Well, the motive is money because they see money on the table. However, the estimated cost by one financial institution, and I forgot which one it was, indicated that the cost per financial institution to comply with FATCA is $250 million a year.
Wow.
We are talking mega billions. Now, there is a chance that if everyone complies, the United States would not collect one extra nickel. But just think of the little billions and hundreds of billions of dollars that will be spent a year complying. More bureaucracy, total gridlock. Now, what if you're an organization, and of course you have to give this to your attorneys, your tax attorneys, your regular accountants, and all that.
I was going to say the legal people make a ton of money.
Oh, tremendous amount. I mean, the money is unfathomable. That's how big it is. Let's assume you fill out all these forms. You got buckets of stuff. You need a C-5 aircraft to get it off the ground. What do they call that?
C-130.
What do they call
C-130.
C-130. Yeah, the C-130 just to get the paper off the ground to get it to the United States again. And the IRS looks at it and said, page 234, line 131 is wrong.
Amend it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but be real, right? It's wrong. Now, you know how easy it is to deal with the IRS. You come and say, oh, can you tell me, Harriet, tell me what's wrong? Oh, I'm sorry, we'll send you it. No. They withhold 30%. They could be holding literally billions of dollars because of line 131.
Oh, you mean they can hold it from the guy who they're trying to collect it from?
From the financial institution, which then has to withhold it from the person. Or else there's like a financial.
So in other words, it's just like
it's a big chain reaction.
Like you had no deductions, you have no figures to make it less. You're going to get the full load, 30%.
Bingo. The whole thing goes. For not him. For the entire amount owed to that financial institution. So if this transaction is $5,000 and $30 million is owed to that financial institution, 30% of $30 million now goes to the IRS.
How can our country even think of going to another country, a sovereign country, and making that kind of request?
You want the answer to that? And I got the answer to that. Right? I got the answer to that, you know? And I swear to God, this was the answer.
You thought it through. What's the answer?
This was the answer. Because we have aircraft carriers. No, I'm not kidding you. I'm not making that. I say because we have it, and they're bigger than you are. That was the answer. It really is intimidation. It's financial intimidation as well as military intimidation.
It's mafioso.
People have had it up to the eyeballs.
It sounds like.
Up to the eyeballs. And folks, we cannot continue on this course. Now, there are those that are saying, get the heck out of the dollar before July 1st. And I'm not one of them. I think that it's just another notch. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult. It's another reason. You know, you go down this very... Now, when the divorce occurs, when someone says, you know, Harriet, I can't stand you anymore. Damon, I can't stand you nagging at me anymore. That day is not. I don't think it's going to be July 1st. And I'm the same camp as Peter Schiff. Not so much with the other guy.
It's like a slow death.
Yeah, it's a slow death.
It's just shrinking and shrinking.
But when something does happen, and you know what was interesting in the book, the Death of Money.
Yeah.
There's an expression.
Jim Ricketts' book.
Yeah. Jim Ricketts stole something from me. I'm sure he got it from me. Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Wow.
Because I use this expression all the time. I want him to admit it, please.
Imitation is the best form of flattery, you know.
You know, but he says in the book, in the very first page, he said, our financial institution is sort of like a mountain of snow, and we're waiting for that one last snowflake to fall. And how many times have I said that?
Avalanche.
What is it? I said, why is this? He took it from me.
Took it from Joe Cristiano.
I probably stole it from him, but I won't admit it.
I think they're killing this economy slowly.
Yeah, it's a slow death,
down,
right?
Little by little.
And then when you look at all the statistics of the number of people working, the amount that they're working, and look at GDP is negative, and it ain't going positive. And when it does go positive, and you find out quantitatively when it went positive, it was because of reasons other than the private economy. You know, it's over, folks. If you don't protect yourself, you're going to be in trouble. In deep trouble. And I am very concerned. You see, this is not the way it was supposed to be.
No.
This is not the way it's supposed to work. This is not the way any of this is supposed to work. That ad is so applicable to our economy. It says it all. This is not the way it works. This is not the way it's supposed to work. And everyone who's seen that ad has heard that. And they're absolutely correct. And if it doesn't work that way, it's not supposed to work that way. It ain't going to be working that way soon.
We'll just befriend them.
Yeah, that's right.
Befriend
That's right. And that's true. And what we're doing is we are defriending people, everybody, and everyone says, I want to unfriend you. Do you know one thing that's interesting?
They're copping out of the system.
When we went off the gold standard in 1971, people in Europe couldn't buy stuff with dollars. People wouldn't touch dollars. They had to convert to lira or francs before they can buy something, and they couldn't get rid of their U.S. dollars. Very few people know that. Read Jim Rickett's book. Do we have a break now?
Yeah, we've got a hard break for news.
Why don't we go for a break and we'll come back? Don't go away, folks.
70.
I wonder how many. I guess Langford's not in the.
Well,
queue
he
yet.
hasn't called yet, but doesn't mean he won't. So we'll just kind of hold on
All right,
to
we'll
it.
hold off. Okay, folks, don't go away because we have to
Yeah,
beat
we
up
gave
on
him
him.
another
don't
number.
we?
Hey, is there an alternative number? And also, I got a phone number I can call her.
Yeah, why don't you see Jim?
918-460-1170. 918-460-1170. You
Okay.
can call.
918-460-1170
Yeah,
or
you can call.
855-866-1170.
If you're
Either
toll
one,
free,
folks.
yeah.
One thing, a big thing last week is the Snowden interview.
Oh, now I
And,
missed that.
You know,
How was it? I didn't see it.
I got an email from somebody that said Snowden for president, and I had to agree. Let me tell you why. Now I don't care what.
wow.
I know if you're a neocon, you want to kill me, but at least he was honest. There's something wrong with this world. This is not the way it's supposed to work. This is not the way any of this is supposed to work. He was honest. I don't care what your position is in what he did, what your feelings are. He at least was honest about it. Said, this is what I did. This is why I did it. And he had a good reason. And he's open about it.
Yeah.
But and everybody else is making stories up, and they're going to do this and they do that. No one wants to face the truth because no one wants the world to. We are living right now in a matrix. Everyone has taken the blue pill. There
That's
are
right,
a few people, and let me tell you something. Taking the blue pill is smart business. You go, you do your job, you pay your taxes, you do what the government says. You come home, you watch your soap operas, your basketball games, your football games,
Your miniseries, all that, yeah.
You know, Dancing with the Stars. You mow your lawn, you wash your car, you go to work, you work all day like a slob, you pay your taxes, and you do it all over again. That's the blue pill,
That's the blue pill, yeah.
right? Don't think of anything. And the people who have taken the blue pill, the gigantic blue pill, the extra heavy duty, like the aspirin, the extra
Multi-milligrams.
Yeah, the multi-milligram have been our teachers. Now, I have plenty of teachers in my family. They're wonderful people, but they cannot think. They have all. You cannot be a teacher if you have taken the red pill, because you realize what a ruse this whole system is. And what you are doing as a teacher is teaching these kids the system.
Well, of course, yeah.
And it
have them
really
participate
upsets
with
me.
it, yeah.
I don't dislike them. I just, why can't they think? The world is in a matrix. We don't realize if we watch that movie today, you know, we see the bodies in cocoons and then fake people, sort of the imaginary people walking
Clones,
around, I guess,
yeah,
the clones or whatever they call it. Right? But that's we are. We're clones. We're not thinking. We're not free people. We just do what we are told to do. And if we don't, we get taxed. Just like the FATCA Act under the Hiring Incentives Employment Act. Well, you know, let me go back to the FATCA thing. You know, one thing that should bother us, everyone, is the fact that people now, I understand, I've read that congressmen are trying to see if they can, like, delay it again. They've been delaying it for years. They want to overturn it now. But wait a minute. Why did they vote for it in the first place? Well, they didn't even read it because they don't read anything. They say, you vote for this, I'll vote for that. They just vote. They go home. They're fat, dumb, and happy, and then we pay the bill.
We got to pass the bill before we find out what's in it.
But that's remarkable. Where'd you hear that?
I don't know. There was some crazy old lady on the television I heard. So,
But that's not the way it's supposed to work. That's not the way any of this is supposed to work. That's my point. And we're all living in this matrix. But when you're in the matrix, you're sort of happy. You know, you go out, buy yourself a pickup truck. I want to buy a four-wheel drive vehicle. Because I told my wife, I said, if we ever need to get out of town, it's not going to be on the major roads. I'm going to get a Toyota Land Cruiser, something like heavy duty with shields on the bottom, go over rocks and stuff. I said, that's what I want. And I looked at a used one, not a used one, but a new old one, if you will, like a 2003, 2004 that have not been sold yet. And I went online to find out how much it would cost me. Right? Well, it was like $30-something thousand, you know, something. But the cost for running that vehicle, not including the payments, the cost of the vehicle, that's depreciation, insurance, taxes, tags, gas, and just regular maintenance, not repairs, regular maintenance, was $15,686 for 5 years. But you see, that's what the government, buy a car. Keep the thing going. Get trapped into it. I saw that. I said, never happened. Never. Now, if I buy one, it's going to be a 1979 model. I'll see if I hot wire it and I'll take off with it or something. But that's about it. And but people are trapped. We're all trapped in this matrix because we have debts that we cannot pay, and we have to go to work the next day at a job that we hate. And of course, we're all paying taxes. We think we're getting away with something. We're not. And to take the blue pill is even more painful.
It destroys that normalcy bias.
I mean, blue pill, the red pill, I'm sorry. To take the red pill is very painful because you're never happy. You see this. You see things ever so clearly. And you say to yourself, but this is not the way it's supposed to work. This is not the way any of this is supposed to work. And you do this all day to yourself, and it can drive you crazy. And folks, listen, this is not radio talk. I'm being honest with you. And I think inside, inherently, you know what I'm saying. You know what we're going through. And there's no way out for anyone, including myself, other than to protect yourself as much as you can. I don't buy things anymore. Now, I have money. I have to admit I'm not broke. And I ride around in a 1996 Subaru with 278,000 plus miles on it.
And a newly painted roof.
And a newly painted roof.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a nice car.
It looks great. Looks great, right?
Runs well.
Because I know what the cost. I do not want to be a slave to the system. Can I go out and buy that $40,000 Toyota Land Cruiser? You bet I can pay cash
more than
right
that.
now. I'm not
Joe.
bragging.
About
I can do it.
$60,000,
Not going to do it.
Joe.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use that money in a better fashion to protect myself and my family and my friends.
The average listener listening right now, outside of not buying a new car, what other things can they do to protect themselves?
Well, there are people who feel it's a tradition. Like this is the weekend. A friend of mine, for example, she says, "Oh, I'm going to go see so and so perform." I don't see any performers. I don't know any singers.
Spend $300.
Is Frank Sinatra still singing?
Frank Sinatra Jr.
Yeah, Jr. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I know nobody. Believe me, and I don't care. And she said, "Well, yeah." She said, "Oh, so and so is coming to town. Didn't know the person. Never heard of it before." She said, "I said, wow." She said, "Yeah." She says, "My husband a little hacked off the tickets." I said, "How much? How much?" She said, $250.
Oh my gosh!
I went.
Concert tickets are expensive.
What? Let's hear somebody sing a song. She said,
and probably not as good fidelity as you would hear on a CD or something.
This was her answer. You want the answer now?
Yeah.
She said, "Well, not really." She said, "That's $250 a seat."
Ooh.
$500. Now, if you think she's the exception, you're fooling yourself. The problem is, but this is what I like to do. People want to live in the matrix. They don't want to see what's really going on outside because if they don't think about it, they can't understand it. They don't understand it. They want to believe what they are doing is right, and they want to enjoy life while they have it.
Well, and that's human nature. Yeah,
it's absolutely human nature. Man, I would a lot of Saturday nights. I have to come here. I'm getting papers together. I'd be honest with you, a lot of times I go, man, wouldn't it be nice if I just went to a basketball game? Popcorn and the whole bit.
Yeah.
And it's true. I'm glad when I'm here. I mean, once I get here, I get rolling.
And we're grateful that you're here.
I heard Clark Howard the other night talking about the cost of an automobile, to go back to that automobile situation. He said it costs, if you buy one right off the lot, he said, keep it 10 years. He said, because he said it costs you $700. That it keeps the cost down to $700 a month.
Yeah.
Because all the things that are involved in owning a car, with the insurance, people don't even think this.
Right.
And the sales gasoline, tax and the license and registration.
Buy the car and drive it a long time, at least 7 years, and then it only costs you $700 a month.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Now, if I wanted to buy this car, my insurance would go up like $1,000.
No, he's not talking about. He's not talking about buying a $50,000 car. He's talking about buying, $20,000 the average car.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
He's very, very conservative financially, but people don't even have a thought of it. They take these $50,000 cars, they run them out for 7 years, and their insurance is outrageous. It sucks gasoline. These big trucks, they're probably spending $1,200 a month on their car.
Yeah.
it's amazing.
People do not want to sacrifice for something that they do not understand because they do not want to take the time and the energy to understand. I tell you, I have friends that I've said, they've asked me my opinion on something. I said, what do I know? I don't know. I said, but whatever you do, don't do this. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is. I said, don't ever do this.
And then they go
Well, they get lazy and they do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Now, they don't say anything. They're not, but I'll learn like a year later, well, I was tied up and and then you get all the excuses and it's this and this and that and this and that. And then they want to know why they're broke. People feel like life, the world owes them something, so they have to continue to prove that, to satisfy that illusion. They buy things and they put it on the shelf.
They just make themselves feel good. So
Yeah.
I got a friend that just got out of debt about 6 months ago. He's a real estate kind of investor and stuff. He had some problems happen. He had a lot of houses they had to foreclose on. And you know what happened? He got out of debt. He felt good. And then that last time I saw him, oh, yeah, I went and bought a Mercedes, and he's got a lease on it.
Mercy.
So
Yeah.
now he's paying some god-awful amount of money per month.
that
And
happens.
he's in debt again, really.
Yeah.
Because that's just like a
Oh, no,
debt.
it happens all the
The
time.
cycle continues.
This guy used to work with Monty. I saw the guy recently. He's a wonderful person. Wife loves to spend money. Loves to spend money more than he does, And they finally get out of debt. They had a boat.
And got good credit.
And they
Yeah.
finally
Got a
sold the
boat.
boat. He said,
Boat
I
and
finally
motorcycle.
sold the boat. I got the payment. And he was doing cartwheels. He was so happy that he had this burden. And he go like, well, 3 months later, the boat show came here to Tulsa.
Uh-oh.
And he went, and I said, I said nothing. I knew. He came back, and he bought a bigger boat.
Oh, yeah.
And he went into hock up to here, This is what people do, but that's not the way it's supposed to work. That's not the way any of this is supposed to work.
Well, again, I think, once again, as everybody has a little money in their pockets, they're going to do that.
That's
but when
right.
it goes awry, like you were talking about, I mean, when, they don't have the money, that's when it will change.
Yeah, I tell people, you got $1.29?
Yeah.
Buy yourself a bag of lentils. It'll save you for two meals. Mm-hmm. You got 2 meals, a bag of lentils. It'll save your life.
They just put they're like,
And it's good
handcuffs.
stuff. It's good stuff.
People put handcuffs on themselves.
That's right.
They can't do anything.
Right. What you do is you buy food. You buy food long term.
the essential things like
back
that.
in the old days when things were the way they're supposed to be, all right? What did people do? Once a month, they went to town, horse and buggy, and they bought what? Dry goods. What are dry goods? Beans.
Mm-hmm.
Beans and corn, vegetables, the stuff that lasted, right? And those things that didn't last, what do? They salted, things like that, and they cured. And they kept them. They always kept food because they never knew whether eat tomorrow. My grandfather had a saying, and this is going to sound crazy because no one in the world will understand this unless you understand what I'm talking about. And my grandfather used to say, hey, Giuseppe, remember, before you go out to eat.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, it sounds crazy.
No, that
I
makes
know.
sense.
I'm not making that. It sounds good. And of course, when I was young, I go, wow, wacko
Yeah,
man,
yeah, he's
wacko man.
crazy. He's
and he
crazy.
was an old man when I was he was born before the turn of the century. But food was so precious to him that it was ingrained in him, never knew when it came time for lunch whether or not there were ever going to be food. So the first thing is you always have a reserve of food. You never knew if you were going to eat. Well, today it's so plentiful. You just drive up, give them a credit card,
Drive-through,
and
yeah.
then they give you all sorts of crap food that's no good for
Drive-through,
you,
yeah.
right? Everyone becomes bloated and sick, right? And you drive away, and everything is fine. And then you got to pay the 27% interest on the credit card.
Yeah,
Right?
of course.
But food was that precious. So what you do is you have food. You buy. You don't have currency. You have money. Money is currency that has intrinsic value, and I'm talking about gold, silver, platinum, palladium.
Palladium, yeah.
Palladium. By the way, they use palladium in catalytic converters. That's what they use for. But take copper. Roman coins were copper, and they converted them to lead.
And don't forget nickels. Nickels.
Yeah. Nickel, the nickels which have copper and nickel in them. Anything of value. I have a friend, he's wealthy, and every once in a while he buys half-pint bottles of vodka because you can drink the vodka and it has 21 purposes, many of them medicinal. I mean, things of value. Now, you don't spend all your money on that. I don't say but you have to have something. In the event something happens, even if it's for a week, you should be able to self-sustain yourself with no problem.
Yeah, a storm, a flood, there's all kinds of things.
Yeah, but it is coming, folks. Inflation now in the food industry is up to 5 and 10%.
Oh, what's a gallon of milk cost these days?
I tell you, this is reminiscent of prior to the Depression. It's just reminiscent. It's coming, folks. Be careful. Now, I don't give projections. I never do. That's going to happen on this date. But you know where we're going. Just look. Look at history. Don't be afraid. Vomit the blue pill for a minute. Just vomit. All right? Have it bounce on the floor.
Get a reality check.
Yeah.
And pick it up and then
just look at the sequence of things and tell me if today we're in better shape than ever before.
No.
Low job participation rate, low salaries, high taxes, hated by everyone in the world, biggest military deficits. Do you know our unfunded liabilities, according to Dr. Kutlakoff now? He's been on my program, University of Boston. He's the expert in that عنصر, right? 1.1. Unfunded liabilities. I was thinking of derivatives. Unfunded liabilities 2 years ago, November of 2013. He said it was $223 trillion.
Wow.
Now, here's a little antidote for you. Oh, do we break?
No, we had a break earlier.
You're going to hear me. Here's something interesting. People want to know, well, Joe, you've got to be wrong. Look, they ratcheted down quantitative easing, $10 billion a month, and interest rates didn't skyrocket like everyone anticipated. Peter Schiff was wrong, right? Contraire, Pierre. All of a sudden, we find out that someone has been buying those tens of trillions, billions of dollars of notes that the Fed has not. And guess which country is buying it? Belgium.
Really?
Yeah. That means every month, every man, woman, and child in Belgium is writing a check for $20,000. You think that's happening? No. What's happening is that because the Fed bailed out the EU, the European Central Bank, in 2008 during the crash, this is the payback, and they're taking the payback through Belgium to make it look like a clean deal. No one knows that. Mm-hmm. Now, what would happen if now all of a sudden the horse is out of the barn? They know that. They know they can't continue to do that. That stops and treasuries go up. When I bought my house in May of 1974, I paid 8.75% interest on a mortgage. I had my mortgage payment less the taxes and the insurance, which wasn't that much at the time, 1974, was $20.28 a month. Never forget. Okay, paid every month like clockwork.
Wow,
today,
$228.
Yeah,
wow.
Now, that was an 8.75% interest.
Man.
Now
that's just a pure loan.
That's a pure, and then the taxes,
insurance taxes, on top,
right? Yeah. On top of it, right? Wow. And they were relatively small back then. Right? Now, if in fact it went to 8% today, the U.S. government, our monetary system would collapse. Now, it was okay back then, and we handled it. But if we did it today, we would collapse. We couldn't even we couldn't do 4%. We would be we'd have to make payments of trillions of dollars a year in interest. We can't do it.
Joe, I was thinking the other day, there's a lot of factors out there, meters that people look at, and signs that they can tell this is happening, that's happening in the different indexes. The big index that I look for, and the one that I can readily see, and you don't have to have a lot of knowledge about financial stuff or even political understanding, it's the lying meter. When you see them lying, you catch them in their lies, whether it's, you can keep your own doctor, all of the lies.
They always lie. They have never told the truth.
It's getting worse.
Oh,
it's blatant lying.
Yeah, it's awful.
I mean, it's like it's like some kid that's a habitual liar. He'll lie about it. He thinks he's getting away with it, but he's not.
Doesn't think he's telling
And
the
these
truth
guys are
finally.
the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah.
And so that's the lying meter. And the more I see that, the more I know there's some problems on the horizon.
Yeah. By the way, did anyone call Langford's office?
We tried.
Yeah, we tried. and
We tried. I
no
had a
answer.
Yeah, we
number.
got a note here.
No, it's not about that.
Oh,
No.
I got a note from my lovely wife, and she said,
I love you.
Snowden. Yeah, I love you too, honey. I do. I'm medley love my wife. I really am. I kiss her in restaurants and stuff like that. We still
does.
make out. Yeah, we still do. I'm only 71 years old. Give me a break, Come on. And she just wrote me a note. And she said Snowden appeared honest.
Yes. he
Yeah,
did.
she's right. He appeared. Remember my Uncle Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on TV this last.
Yeah.
No, not
Well, you
Uncle
know.
Louis. I'm talking about.
But you know what I mean.
That was
I mean,
part of the
this
big
guy,
M. The
this
part
guy,
of
I
the
mean,
big
the
M,
most criminal guy in the world. I think criminal. You're right, criminal. He was honest though. He was truthful with you. He says, "I'm sorry, you seem like a nice guy. It hurts me to." You did. I mean, at least you knew it. I mean, these guys are they're so bad. Don't lie.
You
How
saw
about
that.
what you learned in kindergarten? Don't hit. Don't take what's not yours. Be kind. Share. Wait your turn. What happened to those things?
I think, the guy you're just talking about, Snowden, I think he was taught that because it really came through in that interview he had in NBC this
Yeah.
week. The guy was just honest about it.
And did you see Kerry? The jerk. He looked like such a jerk. Well, have that guy. He's a coward. Have him come home. That
He's a
coward. Yeah.
coward?
He called him a coward. I
The
want
guy
to go
took
through
him- made
TV
his
set
life-
and stick each thumb in one eye and press as hard as I could. My God, my nuts! I put it
I
in my
know.
nuts. I was cursing in 4 languages,
yeah.
3 of which I never heard of before.
Yeah.
I was so
Big Latin,
goddamn
too.
mad.
Big
It's
Latin, too.
really ironic that he called Snowden a coward when he hightailed it out of Vietnam when he found out they were using real guns. So
Well, they didn't tell him that.
I know.
I thought they were-
They told him that the
That
Viet
is
Cong were
funny.
going
Plastic
bang,
bullets,
bang,
yeah.
and he got scared.
Oh, gosh. No, that the whole thing with Snowden was an interesting deal. You find out now that he actually did go to his superiors, and you also found out through this interview that he actually had a real high clearance. He wasn't just some technical geek job, that got into the computers and hacked in there, and he had access. And he had been undercover for the CIA, for the Defense Department. He had a alias name. He was living undercover in foreign countries doing this kinds of stuff. And he didn't have a ill word at all about the NSA. He said
it
there's
was
good
wonderful.
people. He said there's good people in there that are really fighting for our security internationally, and they're doing it right. But he said all of a sudden this thing just got out of hand, and they just started wholesaling, checking on people, doing blackmails and everything else. I mean, he didn't go into that, but I'm sure that's what they're doing. They're using the information to blackmail politically and this, that, and the other. And even Feinstein, she was upset that they were looking into her.
Yeah. Yeah. And now Feinstein wants to make sure that anyone who is a sort of a journalist or a...
Yeah, they can't, yeah.
Like myself, I have to be licensed by the state, and if they don't license me, I can't speak on the internet, nor can I speak on commercial radio. Could you imagine
Can you
that?
ima- yeah.
Oh,
This
my
woman
God,
is the
that'd be
biggest
mayhem.
crook in the world.
And
she's
she's worried about
awful.
him spying on her. So here's what she's probably going to do is pass a law that you can spy on everybody else, but just not politicians.
Yeah, that's right, except for me. Hey, now here's a statistic I want to leave everybody with. This is
Okay.
so beautiful.
Yeah, sounds good.
100% of the House and Senate incumbents who have won the have won primaries. Won their primaries. 100% of the incumbents have won the primaries, right?
Oh, that's not good news.
Now, wait a minute. 100% with an 11% approval rating.
How in the
Wow.
heck's that happen?
How does that happen?
Well, that's what I mean. This is not the way it's
Something's
supposed to work.
screwy.
This is not the way any of this is supposed to work. Well, that's because anyone who, like me, who is disenfranchised, I have no option. I cannot vote for none of the above. I got to vote for the lesser of two evils. So just a few people vote, and it's just the diehard
There you go.
Republicans, the diehard Democrats. They vote. Whoever has the higher number show up, that person gets in, and that person's no more representative of us than
The de-enfranchised voter
That's right.
is staying home.
That's right.
Because he's been
75% of the people are staying home.
That's what the word means. De-enfranchised. They don't have a dog in the race.
Hey, we got the. Is this
or a horse in
program's
the race.
over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Well, this is the end of. I'm awfully sorry that. I wonder what happened. I hope. Langford's okay. Well, maybe we'll get him next week. Who knows? We'll see. We'll give him a try. This is the end of today's broadcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors for the financial support, and we'd like to thank you for listening in. Folks, you can further the cause of liberty by recommending this program to your friends and let us hear from you. Our email address is comments@libertytalkradio.com. Remember, you're either allowing your liberties to be taken away or you're striving to protect them. Unfortunately, there is no middle ground. Until next time. I'm Joe Cristiano. This is Liberty Talk Radio on 1170 KFAQ. Stay well, stay tuned.